Welcome to the Kim B. Davis Show. Here we'll talk to the leaders in technology, culture, business, and the arts. We'll cover politics, advocacy, motherhood, writing, mental health, and mostly we'll focus on hope. Join Kim B. Davis, author, playwright, radio personality, event consultant, professional speaker on the Kim B. Davis Show. Welcome to the Kim B. Davis Show. I'm your host, Kim B. Davis, and Happy New Year. It is 2021, and we have the privilege of having Robert Shakhan, author of Practicing Self-Awareness, the least you will ever be asked, the most you will ever gain. Good evening, Robert, and Happy New Year to you.
Hello, Kim. How are you? And Happy New Year's to everyone.
I'm great. So, look, let's get right to it. You wrote this amazing book, and I had a chance to read some of it over the holiday. And as I told you, I'm still going through it because there's so much in there that helped me think about my own self awareness. So, at the Kim B. Davis Show, it's January. You know, everybody's talking about renewal. We are too. We're talking about resetting, and we're also talking about self awareness. What inspired you to write this book?
So what inspired me, I actually met a person that introduced me to self-awareness. I want to say maybe about 15 years ago. We had been talking for a while, and he had introduced me to the concept, and it took off in my life, like in a way that it was just so amazing. When they make the movie, everybody will understand. But it took off so amazing. But the guy that actually introduced the concept, he had wrote about 2 or 3 books. But it's such a new concept, especially in our community, African American community. You know, we normally have conventional ways we approach spirituality. And the concept was so new. I think he was getting frustrated because it just wasn't generating a lot of traction. He wasn't getting book sales. It didn't seem like people were getting it. And, you know, not to mention bogged down with family life and, you know, getting older. And he kind of shelved it. But it became such a burning sensation, such a real thing to me. I said, well, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to write my own book about this subject as opposed to waiting on somebody else's movement. You know, I actually practice self-awareness, my own self. And I said, you know, I don't want to wait around any longer for somebody's movement. I'm going to start my own because I've been shown and given this, and it's done so much for my life. It's been so impactful in what it's done and given my life. I have to share this. So I said, you know what? I'm writing my own book. And so that way, then I'm only accountable to what's been given to me and how I give it away. If I'm under somebody else's project, I kind of got to wait for their movement, you know. And so this way, I just wanted to be able to get this message out and let it inspire the universe to touch me in ways to keep delivering it, because it's too big of a message. This has to be talked about.
So, can you give us an example of what self awareness looks like, how you talk about it in the book?
So, what self-awareness is what we do is we pay attention to what we're feeling. Now, let me just preface that with this. It's going to be hard to do because at first, now I say it's the least you will ever be asked, the most you'll ever gain, because it's very easy to do. The actual doing is easy, but doing it is hard because we're so used to waking up in the morning, hitting the floor, and we just go on and about our day. We're not really paying attention. And I know that's hard to believe because people are like, wait a minute, I'm with me all day. How don't I see what I'm doing? And once you start practicing self-awareness, you're going to be so shocked at how much you miss. So, you know, we're just coming out of the Christmas season. And, you know, one of my favorite self-awareness analogies is the Christmas Carol, where they had of course the ghost has to come back to show you the future. You don't know what it looked like.
Mm-hmm.
The ghost has to take you to the past so you can remember. But why did Charles Dickens use a ghost for the present? I'm here in the present, aren't I? Why do I need a ghost to show me what's going on now? Because until I begin to understand self-awareness, it's so much that happens in our day we don't catch, because we just get into this regular routine of just going. So I put in my book, the easiest way to begin to practice is when you're negative, meaning, fearful, fearful of the future or the relationship, or you're angry at your mate or a bill or something at the job. It's easier because we have been trained that when we're uncomfortable to look for comfort. That's why we have comfort food and medicine and aspirin, and a lot of people abuse certain substances because they're looking for relief. So it'll be easier to do it when you're negative, because I'm going to tell you, when you get in your way, you don't have no reason to pay attention to yourself, because you get in your way. Why do I want to look at myself? Everything is fine. But when you're in a negative state, instead of reaching for something to give you a relief that's probably going to only make the situation worse, we pull self-awareness off the shelf, and I pay attention to what I'm feeling.
Mm-hmm.
I pay attention to the thoughts that those feelings are generating. Then I actually pay attention to what action I do as a result. The conscious statement you're making is I can't be more than this state right now,
Mm-hmm.
but I want to be. It's my desire. I know at my core, I'm not ready to smack this person in Walmart's because they took cut. I know my mind is telling me that that's the truth, but I know at my core, I'm all peace. I know I'm not ready to do something illegal or steal something because I feel my money is sure. I know what my mind is saying, but I know at the core, it's a greater me. It's a me that's all knowing. It's a me that know all things work together for the good. It's a me that knows I'm more than a conqueror, but I know I can't get to it right now. But that acknowledgement, it's a decision that sets an intention that I'm open to God, the universe. And in my book, I talk about not really getting caught up with what you call it, but I set an intention that I'm open to this power showing me how to be greater, as opposed to attaching to this negativity and looking for things to support and believe that, like, yep, see, this is how people are all the time. That's creating a narrative, which is creating an energy, which ultimately will create what attracts that to your life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So.
All right, so let me go back because you just gave us some powerful pieces here. So one of my favorite movies is A Christmas Carol, and I like how you use that example, because one of the things with Ebenezer Scrooge, he doesn't pay attention to anybody around him. The only thing that he cares about is his money and business. And so we have his apprentice. I forget. I can't think of his name at the moment, but the gentleman
Yeah,
who,
I can't. I know. Yeah.
yeah, who has the son, who's outside,
Right.
and he just sort of overlooks him when he sees him, like, boy, why are you sitting in a corner? And he's like, I'm waiting for my father. He said, well, you're gonna be waiting a while. And he's like, it's okay. And he doesn't think to say, oh, why don't you go inside and sit with him? Or, oh, I will sit here with you and make sure you're okay. He just goes about his way. There are poor people that are starving. There are people that are trying to raise money. And he's just like, I don't have time for that. I pay taxes. This is what's supposed to take care of it. I'm done. I've done my part. And I think a lot of times, and we hear this politically, and I know politics is not something that anybody wants to talk about, but sometimes when we hear these political conversations and we hear people and we call them tone deaf, because they'll say, oh, I'm middle class and my home is $1.5 million. And, I'm an average Joe working every day. You may be a executive at some high powered company making 500, 400, $500,000 a year, calling yourself working class. And those that are actually working class who are working for minimum wage, who are struggling to get by, who may be on the street corner panhandling or what have you, or struggling with mental issues or addiction issues, may look at you and go, you have no idea what my problems are,
Mhm.
because you're talking about your life and trying to equate it to mine, and there's no comparison.
Yeah.
You also, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead, you were going to say something.
No, I was just gonna say I do remember a few years back it was a politician that was actually downing our community, as though he wasn't born with a silver spoon. This particular politician is like one of those the political family that
Mm-hmm.
basically he was handed,
I
hey,
know who you
here's
talking
the keys. Yeah, here's the keys. Here's the keys to the,
about.
and that's why practicing self-awareness is so important, because you could actually be oblivious
Yes.
to that you were actually handed this and others weren't. And do you know your mind will not allow you to really see the truth of that? And I know we sit there and look at people like, this person is nuts. They can't see this, but they really can't. It's,
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you, it's parts of your life that you are not able to see. But go ahead, Kim. Thank
But
you.
no, you're absolutely right. And, that particular politician is a great example because he was handed the keys to the kingdom, name recognition, money, donors, everything, and squandered it over silly stuff. And, unfortunately, it's paying the cost for that. But, in real life, you meet people and you can say, maybe you should work on that. And people will be in denial and say, oh, I don't have a problem, you know, and I'll just use the example of people who smoke weed. And I'm not down on people who smoke weed, but if you're smoking weed and there's a particular job that you want and you can't get that job because they require a drug test, and weed is one of those things that you should not be taking because you won't pass the drug test, and you can't stop smoking weed, that's a problem. It's the same thing when people say, and I'll go to the other side, sugar. When people say, oh, I like a little donut here or there. But you look at their health and you're like, no, you like more than that. And you won't admit that you have a problem because you're in denial to yourself. So I think those are very important things to watch out for, that they can come at any point in our life, or even hover over some part of our life that we're in denial about. But the other thing that I heard you say, when you talked about controlling your thoughts, and the Bible talks about that. When you're supposed to take that thought and you're supposed to capture it and you're supposed to bring it under control, because we're only supposed to think about good things. We're not supposed to focus on negative. And I know for myself, someone who battles depression, that's one of those things. You get into a rut where you start focusing on, like you said, a fear, or you're angry about something. And instead of admitting whatever you're angry about, or whatever you're fearful about, or whatever it is that pushes depression on you, you start to focus on that, and then you close yourself off, and then those thoughts start to come more and more and more, until the point you need to have some type of help.
Right. And that's an important part of my book that I wrote, when I talk about, so what I've begun to understand, Kim, through working self-awareness, is that our mind is actually a separate entity from the core of who we are.
Mm-hmm.
Our mind is a tool that's meant to help navigate us through life, but our mind has somehow became us. And when I say us, meaning we believe that whatever our thoughts are, that's who we are. And that's not true, because we can't be who our thoughts are, because everything you think now, it was partly given to you from the environment, the community. That's why I celebrate certain things the way I do now, But if I was in another community, I'd celebrate what that community celebrates. So our
Mhm.
thoughts really aren't us. And so for years, mankind has kind of, um, and that's why practicing awareness is so big, because what I've understood through this practice is I can't necessarily stop my thoughts, and I can, but not in the way I always thought I could. I always thought I could stop my thoughts by overpowering them, you
Mhm.
know, or suppressing them. But what I found out is thoughts are just like a cloud. They will come and go and pass over, but I'm the one with the lasso. You know, my resistance is
Mhm.
what's causing it. So when I practice self-awareness, this is the statement I'm making, Kim. I'm saying, so look here. I know this is the part where you're going to do what you're going to do. But my core belief is not this fear.
Mhm.
My core belief is not this anger. My core belief knows. See, and when let me just, when I say core belief, what I mean is we were created by God.
Mhm.
We were created by the super intelligence of the whole universe. Well, if I was created by that intelligence, that God resides within me. If it created me, that DNA is me. It's a part of me.
Mhm.
And if that's a part of me, then I know I'm in line with that. Well, what's that? I'm more than a conqueror.
Mhm.
Um, God will never leave me or forsake me. See, we know all of these things to be true, but when our mind becomes active, how soon do we forget?
Yeah.
And so that's why I practice self-awareness, because I know at the core of my being, those are not my beliefs, but I know my mind is active. And normally my mind just passes, those thoughts normally just pass on through. So I'll give you, I say a thing, I say, let me put it in the physical. So I'll show you what it looks like.
Okay.
Um, so I was I had bought some Christmas gifts for somebody. I bought them nice stuff,
Mhm.
family member, and they never even called and thanked me. So we know that might be rude or whatever. And one night I was about to, I think I was about to go to bed or something, and it all of a sudden attacked me. You know, I told you our mind is independent of the real us. And something said, "Oh man, that no good. You know, that's how you can't be nice to people." And they always, and what I did was I said, okay, so I know my mind is upset and angry about this, but my core, the core of who I am, the core, the center, the core of my being is love and
Mhm.
understanding and compassion. Now I know I don't have that expression because my mind has this expression, but I'm detaching from it as it being myself. And you know, a few minutes later, um, that it like that cloud of anger or whatever it was, it passed over. I woke up the next morning. Who you think was on my phone? You know, saying the sweetest, nicest thing. But a lot of times we never get to that part because we make the call that because it's on us so bad. We say, "Hey, you could at least call." So we blow the
Right.
moment before you get what I'm saying.
Mhm.
Before we allow, see, everything is happening from the inside out, not the outside in.
Mhm.
When I work on the inside, it attracts what I want. But the beautiful part is I get to see God move in a way, and that's like my relationship with
Mhm.
this energy field. Okay, I decided I was not going to be this anger. I was not going to accept it as me, even though it seems, you know, I know I use a lot of movie analogies, but it reminded me of like the Wizard of Oz, all the smoke and the thunder. And it feels real like it's me, but this is not me because I know the me, the real me. this God that resides in me is all loving, it's all knowing, it's no bitterness, it's no anger. I know I do things for love, not I don't do things to get rewards or thank you. The real me, the core, is pure. But I've taken on, I mean, look at the society we live in. Everybody arguing and fussing, and it's my turn and me. So, you know, we have this collective of thoughts, but that don't mean that I'm those thoughts. I separate from them. And like I said, it was like I said, when I made that statement, when I said, okay, I hear my mind, but I know that's not my core belief. Like I said, I woke up that morning with all kinds of calls of praise and thank you. And I was like, I'm so glad I didn't bite. I'm glad I didn't attach to that. And the more and more of those experiences I have show me that everything our mind comes to us, especially negative, it doesn't necessarily know. And a lot of times, just real quick, a lot of times our mind it's leading us down a negative path. And we just have to continue to do the work that will separate us from it so we can see the truth. Because we tend to believe everything our mind comes, and our mind comes and says it the way we want to hear it. Like, pss, pss, they don't appreciate you.
And you believe it.
See, your mind, right? Your mind is not gonna come like a boogeyman and say, "Ooh, you're acting petty now." No, it's gonna say, they don't treat you right, and they always being funny. And you be like, "Yeah, you're right." But see, it's what I've learned is in these moments, it's other possibilities. But our mind attaches to the only possibility is they did me wrong, and I got to get them straight. That's the only thing, but it's always multiple possibilities in every experience. But if we're trained on the one way we react, then that's what you're going to get all the time. So.
And it's funny that you use the Wizard of Oz because I just watched that. So I know exactly what you're talking about. And you are right. And, when we see people explode, we use that word for a particular reason because it's an accurate description of what happens. People explode, they start to yell, they get angry, their body may get a little bit scarier, it may contort a little bit, not in a creepy way, but just they may ball their fists up and their whole body mannerism might be aggressive, and you feel like, oh wait, I know we've all been places. I've had it happen to me, been someplace standing in line, waiting for a cup of coffee, and somebody comes in huffing and puffing and jumps in front of you, and people will be like, I'll be like, let it go. Because whatever they're going through is not me. And if it keeps them from harming me or doing something, whatever it is, it's okay. And then there have been times where I'm like, nah, today is not the day. You are not going to cut me off. And you go there. So I get that. But here's my question, because you said something and you talked about family and how that thought came upon you. What happens? And we know what happens, but I guess the question that I should ask you, how would you tell someone to get past that point? Because you said, I knew in my core that that was not me. What if someone else doesn't know that in their core? What if they are not sure because they are depressed and they're thinking negatively of themselves, along with thinking negatively about everybody else?
So what I would say is that so if you remember, I was telling you about the friend of mine that had all of this material and he wasn't using it really to like put it out there because he kind of got discouraged.
Mm-hmm.
One of my mantras is he wrote a book called Cultivating Inner Present Moment Awareness. What that means is to cultivate something. So say if we were going to make this great garden,
Mm-hmm.
and we had to cultivate. Well, what would we have to do? We'd have to, the weed, pull the weeds, have to water it properly, give it the proper sunlight. And of course, manure is gonna be some stank on this process. I'm just gonna tell you going in. But with manure, it's funny how God made it like that. With manure, you have a bountiful crop, but it's
Mm-hmm.
gonna stink a little. But what
Mm-hmm.
I would say is I would say that you're going to have to grow to a point where you're allowed to see these things, because once you see them, see what I've learned, Kim, is it's not really a lot of major adjustments. We're all looking for this major adjustment. It's really more about not what I can do. It's more about what can I see.
Mm-hmm.
And it's more about what can I see. And what I would say just begin with the small things. Anytime I'm negative, pay attention to it. Just pay attention, because what you're doing by doing that is you're cultivating, meaning this seeing, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and big, and then you start seeing stuff like you never seen before. Because what it really is it's an invitation to have this intimate relationship with God. Actually, that's anything we do, that's what we're really seeking, is to have this intimacy with the Creator, the God that created us. It's almost this connection to home. That's really what we're looking for. And what I would say continue to practice self-awareness, because and if you really look about it, around anything we do, anything we do, that we get better at, we
Mm-hmm.
practice. That's the one thing I'm learning on this spiritual journey. Now, this is not to denigrate anything that I've learned, over the years, because I grew up in the church. I'm a deacon at my church.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things I was lacking, and I think why I could never build that intimacy. Now watch this.
Okay.
For me, church has its place in my life. It's the celebration of my relationship.
Mm-hmm.
But I build that relationship moment to moment by my experiences in life.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and self-awareness, it allows me to, moment by moment, to get closer and closer with the God of my understanding. So what I would tell somebody is, I would say, start out slow, just small things you can catch.
Mm-hmm.
Keep on. And the difference I was making, between having something to practice and being a part of an organization or affiliation, is you have to see, watch this, Kim. For everything we do in life to get better, we get a process and we go practice it. Am I
Yeah,
right?
that's correct.
Like the analogy, if I went and like when I used to be DJing for the boys, playing in the basketball league, if I said,
Mm-hmm.
hey, I want to learn how to dribble better like that, I'd go to one of the kids. They tell me, they say, you got to get the ball like right to the top of your legs. Don't
Mm-hmm.
bounce it no higher than that, and get like a rhythm, and then start moving it side to side. And then they'd say, now go practice that. Then I'd go practice it, and I say, hey, those methods you showed me, I
Mm-hmm.
actually got better. I got handles now. Or I say, man, that didn't work. But what I would have was a process
Mm-hmm.
that allowed me to examine, had I got. Now, Kim, why do everything on earth, anything we go do, if it's work on a car, DJ, basketball, cook, whatever, we have a process and something to practice. But the most sacred part of our life, our spirituality, our soul, our well-being, why aren't we given a plethora of things to go practice to see if I get better? So that's what I would say. Practice self-awareness. When I'm negative, pay attention to what I'm feeling, the thoughts those feelings are generating, and what I do, and begin to watch the magic happen. And what you can do is, you can also be aware if this practice is helping you, because that's how it gets bigger and that's how it gets better. Those are my experiences with practicing self-awareness. The more I did it, the more things I'm open to, the more things I'm seeing, the more my life has gotten significantly better just from practicing self-awareness. And it goes back to one of the biggest things you said is me practicing self-awareness is stopping my mind from running roughshod with negative thoughts. Because like I wrote in my book, even if somebody is wrong as two left shoes,
Right.
you're the one carrying the energy, and your energy is attracting your attraction level to your life. You have to find a way to get back on track. I don't care how wrong somebody, you don't sit around talking about, well, I wouldn't be like this if somebody wasn't wrong, but you're attracting it. They're not attracting that. You're attracting the negativity that you're vibrating.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say just keep on practicing and see if it gets better, and get my book, and you know, I got a show too, and keep on listening, because it does take some concentration and some practice. But I would say just keep on practicing, watch the magic happen. I would like to say, Kim, that it was something more in depth than that, because I know like if you tell somebody, hey, if you climb Kilimanjaro and read these 10 books and see the great man of Iwo Jima and smoke a pipe, you will be released. You know, we want to hear something like that, but it's really as simple as being aware, because what you're saying is I'm gonna stop letting my mind just run wild with all of these thoughts that are running my life.
That is a perfect way to end our interview, Robert. That was amazing. Thank you for sharing that. Now, you got to tell us, where can we find your book? How can we reach you? And are you on social media?
Yes, I'm on social media. So here's my book. You can go to www.rshakhan.com. I have a website with my book, and I have some of my podcasts and all my information. That's www.rshakhan. Shakhan is SHAKHAN. I'm on Facebook, Robert Shakhan. Come join me on Facebook. Hit me, ask me some questions. I'm also on Instagram, where I see my friend Kim all the time. Like, see, you like me, Kim. I don't have to post everything that's going on all the time.
Exactly.
And you can meet me on Instagram and DM me. And it's Robinski5. Robinski is ROBINSKI, just Robin and Ski. Robinski5 on Instagram, and DM me, and give me your information, and I'll get a book out to you. And since I'm still in the holiday mood, I'll give out a couple of books, because my thing is, would I like to get rich? Of course, who wouldn't? But God has touched me with this information, Kim, and that's my life mission, is to share it, because it's brought me so much relief. And really, it's so practical. I'm like, no wonder I couldn't find it, because it's always been right here. You know, speaking of the Wizard of Oz, you know, that's what Dorothy's whole trip was about, was trying to find something. And then the whole rest of the movie was trying to get back to what she left trying to find.
Exactly.
You know, it's not far, people. Matter of fact, at one point, I was going to name my book, Click Your Heels, Dorothy. People said African-American community may not get it.
Right.
And, you know, I'm trying to teach my brother. It's for everybody. But I see so much, you know, pain and hurt and poverty in the people I'm around in my community. So because this information actually in other communities, just real quick, you know, Rhonda Barnes that wrote The Secret, she has a new book, and she's came back and said, I've been trying to teach you to manifest, but what I've learned, if you don't have self-awareness, whatever you manifest is not going to bring you the peace you're looking for. And that really surprised me. I was like, wow, so it's in other communities, but I want our community to have this information. I want us to know it's multiple paths to spiritual enlightenment, and we have to stay open, and we have to be open enough to say, you know what, I love this and my family did this, and then, but I don't have the peace that I want. And you have to be open up. You know, you can't say, well, this don't work, so I'm not going to do nothing. You have to say that didn't work, but let me stay open to finding things I connect with that bring me the spiritual peace I'm looking for.
Absolutely. Now tell us about your podcast.
So, you know, I have a radio show. I have a radio show every Tuesday at 12:30. I'm gonna have to bring you on. We'll set
Okay.
up something. I want you to
Okay,
come on
great.
my radio show real soon too.
Okay.
It's from 12:30 to 1. It's
Mhm.
on 1340 WCHB. And you know, this isn't my first foray into radio. You know, I work, that's how I learned. That's actually what started my spark of self-awareness. You know, I used to work for Martha Jean the Queen.
Right. I remember we talked about that.
Yeah, for about 10 years. And one day I was doing my gospel show and I looked up and I seen this book called The Power of Now. And it blew me away because that was the first time I said, wow, I didn't know you could look at spirituality in other ways than the conventional ways I always looked at it. And so I'm doing a radio show on 1340 AM WCHB
Okay.
on every Tuesday at 12 from 12:30 to 1. It's a great show. And I upload that show onto YouTube. I'm on my 5th podcast and I upload it to my Apple. I have Apple Podcasts. So basically all of the shows on Apple Podcasts and YouTube are the actual show on Tuesdays. But I know every time everybody can't be somewhere from 12:30 to 1, but I want to make sure you get this information. And I co-host it with a friend of mine from the DC area.
Okay, great. That's exciting. Now
Yeah.
tell us your website again.
My website is www.rshakhan.com. That's www.rshakhan.com. I mean, wait, I'm sorry, www.rshakhan.com. Got a little excited here.
I know you did. It's
And
okay.
yeah, contact me and get you a book, definitely. Because like I said, this is like when you asked me the question, I felt that so much. What you have to do is you have to cultivate it. You have to stay on it. You have to continue to learn about this information. And the more you practice self-awareness, the greater it grows in you. And the more you learn about yourself and the one or two things that need to be tweaked to change your attraction level. That's one thing I had learned about The Secret when I was posting all those checks on my wall, but I was staying broke, wasn't getting no money. What I found out from self-awareness was I didn't so much learn what I needed to attract. I need to learn what I'm unconsciously attracting every day by things I'm not watching in my experience.
Mm-hmm. Powerful, powerful. Thank you, Robert Shakhan, for coming on the Kim B. Davis Show and sharing with us about self-awareness. Yeah. Thank you so much. Hopefully you will come back again and we'll continue to talk about this because 2021 is going to be an interesting year. And as I told people in 2020, if you didn't learn some things about yourself, 2021, we're probably going to have another opportunity to do that. So I'm sure we'll have another conversation.
Absolutely.
Thank you guys for watching the Kim B. Davis Show. I hope that you will tune in to our next episode. And as always, remember, be magnificent.